Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to score on HockeyShift using player stats. So once you're in the scoring interface, you'll be on the roster tab here, and you'll see the teams that are playing in the game. And the first thing you want to do is roster the players. So there's two ways to do it. You can just check this select all box, and it checks off all the players. And then at that point you can uncheck some of the players if you want, or you can just individually check off the players. As soon as a goalie is checked off, then it'll automatically just add the goalie to the starting goalie box here at the top. But if you have more than one goalie rostered, then you can click the box and you can switch it to the other goalie. So let's make sure we have a goalie on this side as well. Perfect. Now, if you scroll to the bottom, you'll notice you see these add player buttons. Now, you actually may not see these. If you don't have permission, if your league doesn't want to give you permission to add players to teams, then you won't see these buttons. But if you do see them, then you can add players, so let's click a button. There's three kinds of players. There's an active player, which is a full-time member of the team. There's a spare player, so this actually does create a player, but it just means that they're just coming out to maybe play this game or a few games, and a full-time member. And then there's a game spare. It doesn't actually create a person at all. It just creates a player for the sense of that game to hold the stats on, but it doesn't actually create a real person. So let's add a new player. So we'll call this guy Eric Smith. Oops. And we'll put a number in, number 5. And you can choose their position if you want, player, goalie, or there's some more detailed positions here. So maybe we'll just make him a defenseman. And we'll say add. So now you'll see it automatically rosters them, adds them to the team, so they're right there, Eric. You can change the player's number. So let's just say that Alexander Perry was playing with number 73 this game. Then you can just change his status here, his number to 73. You'll notice these green dots here. So the system saves everything you do as you go through. When you initially check off a player, it appears orange, and then it turns green. It's orange when it's pending the save, but then it turns green. Some other things to note would be if your league is using suspensions, then if a player is suspended, then it will say -suspended in red beside their name to let you know that they're suspended. If your league is using playoff eligibility, then if it's a playoff game that you're scoring and the league has turned on the setting, then it will tell you, it'll put a red X beside the player, and when you hover over it, it'll say that they're not eligible because they didn't play the minimum number of games. Up here, you'll notice beside players there's a coaches tab, so you can click that, and then you can add. I haven't added any coaches to this team, but if there was coaches, you could check them off. And if you have permissions, you can also add coaches as well. This is important if you want to assign penalties to coaches. Once you're ready to score the game, you can click either the Score tab up here, or you can click Continue to Score Game. Now you're in the scoring interface, so on the scoring tab, so all of the scoring will be done from this interface. You notice there's a score clock right here at the top. It shows the period in the clock time. By default, it starts but right at the beginning of the game. And when the play starts, if you want to use the scoring clock, you can click on just Start Play. And there's also a shortcut key. You can hit the spacebar key on your keyboard, and it will stop the clock. There's a bunch of shortcuts in this system. If you click on this little dotty menu right here, you can click on Shortcuts, and it shows you. So for instance, when you're scoring, if you want to do a home goal, you can push H on your keyboard and you can push G for goal. Or away save would be like A and then S for save. So let's give that a try. So we'll push H on our keyboard and we'll push G, and it brings us to the home goal screen. Now we'll pick the score, so it's 43 from 33, and if you don't have to put in the assists are optional, so maybe we'll put in a second assist. The goalie's automatically picked because it knows which goalie's in the net at all times. And there's a strength. The strength is just the number of players on the ice. So we'll just go with an even strength goal. Now, if you notice, the clock says 1931. So that happened to be when I hit HG or click the goal button, it pulls in the exact clock time that was displayed, that was currently the clock time when you clicked the action. So you can actually still adjust this if you want. You say, okay, no, it's 1936, or you can change the period manually. But it just assists you in that if it's correct when you click the action, then it pulls in for you and saves you some time. So we'll click Save. Next thing is let's add a penalty. So we'll click Penalty, and there's two ways to do it. You can either choose the severity and then the infraction, like a minor holding penalty by clicking on that. Or let's go back to the infractions tab. I'll show you the way of doing it. You can just, by default, as soon as you click penalty, or type like HP for home penalty, you'll be automatically focused in the search box, and you can just start typing what you want. So in this case, we're looking for a holding penalty, so we'll type hold, and it'll give me all the options for it, so I can just click there. Now we'll select the player that is penalized, so we'll give it to 60. And PPO is the power play opportunity, so by default the system knows which penalties typically come with a power play opportunity, but in the event there was an offsetting penalty, or the penalty being assigned didn't create a power play opportunity, then you would uncheck this. But most of the time it's usually set up for you correctly. So we'll click save. Now let's add a save. So if you're watching and the Bears goalie makes a save, you can just click the save button, or GS for save. So we'll just click a few saves here. Now you'll notice at the lower area, you see these saves piling up here. This is the plays tab. So all of the plays, as you record plays, they automatically appear here. And you can filter these plays. So if you want to filter them by goals or penalties, or penalty shots, you can filter the different plays. You can also edit the plays. So if I want to make a change to the goal, maybe we do want to add a second assist. We can come in here and we can say 77, got the second assist. So you can make a save. Now notice that the orange dots, they turn green. So all of these plays are saved. Now the great thing about this system is that it's all auto-saving, and even if your connection drops, you can still continue to score. So if you are on Wi-Fi or your Ethernet cable comes out of your laptop or whatever, then you can still continue to score as long as you don't close your browser tab. All those changes are saved in your browser tab. They'll be displayed as orange, and then as soon as you get your connection back, then it will automatically save all those changes. In the top right hand corner, there's a connected status with a green dot. That means you're connected to the internet. So if that turns orange, you've lost your connection, you can still score, and then when you get your connection back, it'll save all the changes. Pulling goalies and changing goalies. So there's two ways to do it. You can click on the change goalie button here, and you can just select the team and the action, what you're doing, or there's a faster way of doing it. The goalie is linked, so here's the goalies in the net. So if we want to pull Austin, we can click Austin, and then we can say, by default it does the action of pull. You can make it to change if you want, but we'll select pull. There is no new goalie because it's an empty net, and we'll say save. And now it displays that there's an empty net. So if you want to return Austin, you can click empty net, and it automatically knows that there's no goalie, so it's highlights return for you, and you can click save. Now Austin's back in the net. Penalty shot. If a penalty shot occurs, you can click the gray button here for penalty shot. You can choose the team taking the penalty shot. We'll give it to 73. We'll say that he does score. It knows the goalie he's shooting against, the time, and the strength, and we'll say save. And now it awards the goal to the team for scoring on that penalty shot. If there is a shootout, you can add a shootout if you want. So you would just click shootout. And this is, deciding the game at the end, and if there's a tie. So you would say the round. So round one, shooter, 57, scores yes. And then you would do the opposite team. They would have the same round, so away. So if there was maybe just a one-round shootout and they didn't score, then this would be the end game result. This will automatically add a goal. When you score a shootout, the winning team gets assigned an extra goal for winning the game, but it doesn't credit it to a player, but it's automatically done for you. So we'll go back to score game. Up here in the Dottie menu here, there is a swap sides. By default it puts home and then away, but if you want to have away on the left, you can swap the sides. If you want to get to the game sheet, there's a paper game sheet that you can print out or look at. There's a link here for game sheet on the right hand side in the middle, or you can click the Dottie menu and you can click on game sheet, and that'll bring up the game sheet. Okay, the full screen. So there's a full screen toggle here. I'm already in full screen mode, so it's filling up the entire screen. But if you're, by default, you'll see your browser bars and tabs above, and if you want to just have more efficient use of your screen space, you can click the full screen button. So let's go through the tabs. So there's the details tab. It just has some game details like the game number, the type, whether it's regular season or playoffs, the date and time, which facility it was at. You can assign a facility, you can assign a rink. Officials, the officials that worked the game, you can assign an official to the game. So we'll assign, say, Brian to work the game. There's some game stars. You may not see this depending on if your league tracks game stars or not, but you could fill them in if they do. And lastly, there's a notes field. So there's a public notes. This will display on the public website, so only put notes in here that you'd want to display to the public. And there's a private game notes just for internal use only that you can put here, and they will not be displayed on the public website. Once you are done scoring the game, you'll want to set the game to final. So you come in here and you can click the in progress. By default, it starts at not started, but as soon as you start the clock, it puts it in progress. And then when the game is complete, you'll set it to final. There's also other options here for a forfeit. If there's a forfeit, you can set a home team, away team, or a home and away team forfeit. And if the game is canceled, you can also cancel the game in here as well. So we'll set it to final. It puts green around the box to mean that it was saved, and that's it. That all of the game statistics have been saved. The game is complete. If you want to continue, if you realize you made a mistake, then you can still edit. You can still make changes, even though the game is final. That's okay. You can come in here and you can change the assist on a goal or something like that. And that's still okay. You can definitely still do that, even though the game's final. Okay, well, that's it to scoring. Thanks for watching.